The recovering U.S. economy casts a shadow on emerging markets like the Philippines, with investors diverting funds to what remains the world's largest economy. On January 16th, for the first time since 2010, the peso fell below 45 against the U.S. dollar, which analysts attribute to speculations on the Federal Reserve's tapering of its stimulus program. What lies ahead for the peso, and what impact will its fluctuations make on the economy and on the average Juan? To give us answers, with us tonight is Justin Jung, founder and chief executive officer of Metis E-Trade. Good evening, Justin, and welcome to Solar Nightly News.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, we're seeing a low for the first time since 2010 of the 45 peso to the dollar. Is this a trend that we're going to keep seeing if the U.S. Fed keeps tapering?
The tapering might temper the depreciation or the appreciation of the U.S. dollar, but I think the strength of the U.S. dollar will continue in coming months and coming years.
So what other factors should we look at when we look at the depreciation of the Philippine peso?
I think the current dollar-peso exchange rate is highly based on the U.S. economy. U.S. economy, yes, it did suffer before the 2010. From the 2000 to 2010, it did suffer. But however, the strength of the U.S. economy and the future outlook for the U.S. economy is brighter than ever at this point. So therefore, and at the same time, the tapering of the stimulus package, it indicates the U.S. economy is actually getting stronger. So it gives more confidence to the investors where that the dollar strengthening will be continued.
All right, that's comforting to hear, because lately Morgan Stanley has been talking about emerging countries at risk due to foreign investors losing interests. And there was also a new study that looked at some countries, the Philippines is not included, but we have Thailand, Indonesia, that are at risk right now with foreign investors pulling out. Do you think the Philippines might be in danger of joining this group?
I really doubt so, because again, as we all know, the Philippine government bonds rate has been upgraded lately. And if you look at the government bonds sales compared to the GDP, the Philippine government has a much less GDP sales compared to the GDP. Therefore, there is much more room for the Philippine government to sell the government bonds, which is going to be much bigger foreign direct investment than the individual investment that we have, that a lot of analysts is forecasting. Moreover, the depreciation of the peso will definitely increase the competitiveness of Philippine local economy. Again, yes, weak peso, definitely it may hurt the importer. However, it helped the export.
Right.
And once it helped the export, it helped the local manufacturing industry. And they will have a much bigger profit margin, which will soon that more and more local consumer will have a more demand for the local product compared to the foreign product, which will actually help the local economy. So therefore, the local Philippine market or Philippine economy outlook is going to be very it is expected to be very positive in coming years.
All right, let's look at the perspective for the ordinary consumer. What does this mean when we have the peso depreciating? Does this mean we have less purchasing power?
No, not really. Yes, of course, less purchasing power to a foreign product, but domestic product is not. And at the same time, when the local manufacturing companies is making higher profit margin, which is they are doing right now, especially with the core inflation is much lower than before, that their product quality is going to increase too. And therefore, the local product will have more of a global competitive advantage. Or, therefore, that it's going to be more beneficial for the local economy and local consumer, not just in terms of the quality, but also the quantity.
Okay, so what's your forecast for the peso for this year then? Because we're very worried the peso is going lower. So what do you think is going to happen?
I think the depreciation of peso will continue. And I do not think that there is anything to worry about the depreciation of peso. Again, the depreciation of peso is definitely helpful for the local economy. And that's why that a lot of developed countries, like, in year 2004 in the U.S. The dollar policy was a weak dollar policy to boost their local economy. And the same thing since the last year. Japan also the government has been intentionally depreciating their local currency to boost their local economy. I think the depreciation of the peso will definitely help the Philippine economy, and I think that that also aligns with the Philippine government's intention.
Okay, so there are no risks for the Philippine peso going the way of, for example, the Turkish lira, you know, the Mexican peso. It's scary, you know, thinking what happened in those
Yeah, I think the
countries.
Philippine economy you cannot compare with the Mexican peso because the Philippine economy is much more stabilized in status.
Yes. All right. So when we look at also social political scenarios, you know, there's talk that because of the peace deal that's happening in Mindanao, it may bring in more foreign investors. How do you see the environment affecting our currency?
Yes, definitely the political stability is definitely one of the biggest things that we consider as a foreign investors.
Right.
However, at this point, the political stability and the government reform definitely a big plus, but foreign investors are more focused on economic growth. And if we look at the data, we simply look at the data. If you look at the data, GDP growth is continuing. Yes, of course, like there was a bubble in the stock market and we have a correctional movement for the last couple of years, but that was only just a correctional movement. And then the growth potential for the Philippine economy is faster than ever, especially with the weak Philippine peso.
Yeah.
So therefore, that more and more investors is more focused on economic data and fundamentals rather than political situation.
All right. Well, with a group like yours, Metis E-Trade, you are there to help people like me with maybe investments. I don't know much about stocks and making my smart choices about investments. What do you do actually with Metis E-Trade? How can you help ordinary consumers?
Basically, with the internet, and computer evolution, which is only about 15 years, investment market has been changed a lot.
Yes.
Before, most of the time, if you talk about the investment, you go to the brokers and then you buy and sell different product based on the broker's recommendation. However, when this traditional investment scheme comes with a lot of fees, and then it's a lack of transparency. So what we offer is more of a transparent, inexpensive way of investment scheme, where that you can see every price from your computer directly, and then you can buy and sell without any human interference. So it's much more transparent, and the cost is less than 1/10 of the traditional investment scheme. That's basically what we are offering. Basically, we offer global market into your computer.
Right.
So from your computer, you can deal with the people and investors or buy and sell different global product at the lowest possible cost from the investors from US, Japan, Korea, and Europe.
Very convenient,
yes.
Very easy. So what advice would you give people who are looking at say they have some extra dollars or dollar investments with the current state of the Philippine peso right now? How would you advise them to deal with their peso or dollar investments?
As I said, the dollar is definitely going to continue to appreciate, and I think that the depreciation of the peso is going to, with the tapering of the Fed lately, yes, we may see short-term strengthening of the peso, but in the long run, I believe that the peso will heading to the 50 level within this year. So therefore, I think that it is better that you probably leverage out a little bit of your peso holdings and then buy into a dollar.
Okay, so we make sure to have a little bit of both, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so I know you've been saying that the U.S. is doing very well right now, but there was a time when they were in big trouble. Do you think there will ever be a time when the dollar will be replaced as a global currency?
No, I think still, if you look at the global economy, I mean, the global strength of the global economy, there is no country which has a more economic
power.
Even
if the euro gets really strong.
Yes, the euro has a really get strong at the same. However, if you look, I'm looking at the economic fundamental. I'm looking at the strengths of the economy and in their industry. Again, very simple example: IT industry. Who owns the IT industry? U.S. And right now, IT industry, the profit of IT industry combined is bigger than every other industry combined. And who has all these IT company? Google, Facebook,
Right.
Microsoft, Apple,
Right.
U.S.
Yeah.
So their economy is very optimistic.
Well, very interesting. You are based in New York. You've been living there for quite some time.
Yes.
Of course, the culture in the U.S. is very different from here. Now that you're working with the Philippine culture in terms of the investment environment, how is it different for you working with the American?
It is actually very different, and I think investment mentality of the investors in Philippines is a little bit passive, and I really like to encourage them to be a little bit more aggressive and get to know their
I think
investment.
we're very scared of risks.
Yeah, they're scared of the risk, but then
Yeah.
a lot of investors do not study about their investment too much.
Yeah.
They rely on their brokers' word too much. What I would like to suggest is like really get to know the market they're getting into, and at the same time get to know the company they're getting into.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best way these days, social media. I think that if you Google them, if you check online, you can find everything. So what I would like to suggest is like really get to know the company, get to know the product that you are getting into, and that's the safest way of investment.
This is the real Wolf of Wall Street, by the way, and he's come to Manila. So what advice would you give us? It's the year of the horse. Many people want to gallop into a good financial health. What would you give ordinary consumers? What kind of advice would you give them on how to invest their money for this year?
Oh, invest the money.
Yes,
a lot of times investors they hold back on investment. Everyone invests once in their life. Starting from college life, they start up their like food dispenser or restaurant together. Everyone invests, once in their life. I like to suggest if you thinking about investing, if you ever gonna invest now, not later, because if you have a much better opportunity. Now you're gonna risk much less than the future when you have more money.
Right.
A lot of people they hesitate to invest because they don't have time, they don't have money. But you know what? You have much more time now, and you're much smarter now than 10 years later, and you risk much less money now than 10 years later. So I like people to be a little bit more aggressive and get to know the market.
Yeah. Great. Well, just do it. That's the advice we have now, right? Seize the day, and
exactly.
We still have time to make mistakes, right?
Yes, definitely.
Well, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for all your advice and being with us.